Chapter 21. Nightmare. Brock awoke in his bed, staring at the textured ceiling. The blankets were gone. His body was paralyzed, everything except his head. He could turn his head just a little. Around the edges of the door into the hallway, streams of black smoke were creeping like tentacles. They had crawled up the door frame, rolled up the wall, and were spilling across the ceiling, reaching for him. His first thought was of the electrical wiring he'd just completed. I did something wrong, he thought, and now the house is on fire. But this smoke was strange. It was breathing. It would push forward, bubbling like thick, hot tar. Then it would quickly pull back. The cycle would repeat over and over, with the smoky fingers getting a little closer each time. There's a fire. I can't get up. Why can't I move? He tried to scream, but all that came out was a strangled grunt. He thrashed, trying first to the left and then to the right, but his body couldn't, or wouldn't, respond. Panicked thoughts beat him. If I'm going to die, I want it to be painless. I want to die in my sleep. He closed his eyes tightly. I want to fall asleep. When he opened his eyes again, the smoke was gone, and he was floating. His body was several feet off the bed. He thought about flipping over onto his stomach, and it happened. He imagined floating toward the window, and his body moved gently in that direction. Good, he thought. I can get away from the fire. The house on the hill dropped away beneath him. Now he was flying above the city, looking down onto the roofs of homes and businesses in the old section of downtown. He suddenly remembered that he had been invited to a party in North Broadacre, somewhere down the street from Wisteria's house above the bank. Brock soared across the river and circled the home where the party was to be held. It was empty. All the windows were dark, and no one could be seen inside. Strange. Might as well see how Wisteria is doing, Brock thought. With a flap of his arms, he altered course and headed straight for the bank tower window. Wisteria was also not at home. There was a single light in her room, coming from a television. On the screen, a blocky old video game cast a colorful glow onto the walls. Some sort of a baseball game that he didn't recognize. Who was playing it? In the distance, smoke and flames erupted from the old schoolhouse. They're burning it, Brock thought. He glided silently in that direction. The faster he flew, the farther away the schoolhouse seemed to get. Now it was just a tiny speck on the horizon. Below him was a large pasture with a 16-lane highway running straight through the middle. There were stables on the property, lit inside with festive, multicolored bulbs. There was a green stall, a blue stall, a yellow stall, and a red stall. The horses were nowhere to be seen. Brock landed to explore. A ladder leading to the hayloft was blocked by a trapdoor that wouldn't open, no matter how hard he pushed on it. As he descended the ladder, he caught a glimpse of someone watching him, huddled in a corner of one of the stalls. It was a girl. A young girl, in an antique-type blue and white checkered dress, holding a porcelain doll. Her mouth hung open, but she said nothing. She stood, raised a hand, pointed at Brock. I'm trespassing, Brock thought. This is her farm. Brock backed away, heading outside toward the interstate. He could hear the girl hissing and gurgling. She approached, her arms still outstretched. He had to escape. The ridiculously wide highway extended to the distant horizon in both directions, as far off as he could see. A single car approached. Maybe he could flag it down and get help? Then he saw Zane, his face blurry and indistinct, slowly trudging across the road from the opposite side. He couldn't see the approaching car. Brock wanted to scream, tried to call out and warn his friend, but he couldn't make a sound. He launched into the air, tried to reach Zane in time, but the car ran right over him, widthwise, and didn't even stop or slow down. Brock tried to pull the injured Zane out of the street, but he was heavy and the highway wide. The young girl in the old-fashioned dress, no longer hissing, was running toward them. She's going to help, thought Brock. She'll help me pull Zane to the grass. Another car was approaching. The young girl took Zane's feet, and Brock took his arms. Together, they dragged the unconscious body out of danger. But then the younger girl was hit too. The car's tires rolled right across her midsection, cutting her clean in half. What's happening? Why won't they stop? Brock dragged both pieces of the younger girl out of danger. They were easier to pull, since each one was only half of a body. Then a police car approached Brock, with lights flashing. It seemed strange to him that an enormous, multi-lane highway would have such a meager flow of traffic. Only one car at a time? Brock leapt into the cruiser's path with arms outstretched, calling out that some people were seriously injured and needed medical attention. The car stopped, and two impossibly tall police officers, with dark glasses, stepped out. An ambulance pulled up. Brock watched it roll to a stop behind the police. When Brock looked back to Zane and the girl, he knew that they would be okay. The cops had repaired them. They had somehow attached the two pieces of the younger girl's body together, and now she was sitting up. One officer asked Brock if he was feeling all right. "I'm a little shaken up," Brock replied. "I thought I was going to die." "At least you're better off than those two are," said the cop. "The younger one was cut in half. Lost 10 inches of flesh from her abdomen. She'll live." Good, said Brock. "The other one lost part of his brain. Zane. Not sure if he'll ever be the same. Might be crazy for the rest of his life." The cops saluted Brock and left, walking down the highway without their cruiser until they were no longer visible, lost in the glare of the setting sun.